Hello, friends. This is Tony DeSant, space rocker of the planet Earth. Space rocker of the planet Earth. Back with another one today. It's a Tuesday. And where I'm at, they give the rock classics around here on Tuesdays. So I'm going to have some fun today listening to the rock classics. Not only that, it's a beautiful day outside, sunny. It's a little cold still, but it's okay. And back to what we were talking about throughout the month on the subject of self-awareness. We're going to be discussing today perception. Yeah, perception. And what are you talking about, Tony? Perception. Well, there's two kinds of perceptions, I could say, It's the perception that you have of yourself, how you see yourself, what is the image that you have of yourself, and there's also the perception that you have outside of yourself, the things that reflect. Basically, the reflection that you have on the world, on how you see things. And they're both very important because the reflection that you have on yourself, the feeling, the thoughts, the sensations, everything that you feel inside, the way you see yourself, has a lot to do with the way you see the world. And actually, perception is something that you develop throughout your life. So, needless to say, they have a saying in my country, in my culture. They say the devil knows best because of old age. And it's fairly true. Because, believe it or not, the perception of a person that's 20 years old compared to the perception of a person that's 80 years old is totally different. Because that 80-year-old person have had at least 75 years of conscious experience. Like, by the time you're like 5 years old, you start having conscious experiences and you start perceiving the world. So imagine 75 years of conscious perception. It's a lot. It's a long time. And that 80-year-old person knows best. It doesn't mean that person's the devil. Maybe some of them, but yeah. In my culture, they say the devil knows best because of old age. And I could tell you this much. I'll give you an example. Perception is what you see outside of you, how you see the world and how you interpret it. And basically, when you're young, let's say 10 years old, you have this amount of perception. So you're focusing just like this. And everything that's happening outside this circle, it's not happening. You don't see it. Forward that another 10 years, 20 years. That's the worst. Some 20-year-olds, their perception even shrinks. But let's say it expanded a little bit. It expands for girls more than for boys, for sure. But your perception might be like, maybe like that. And outside of that circle, you're not looking at nothing. You're just looking at what you know, what's in it for you, and that's about it. Now, there's the curious type. Those are the worst. And I got a confession. I'm one of the curious types. So the curious types, don't matter if they're 10 years old, they want to know everything. So they start digging in the books and everything and expanding their perception by expanding their knowledge. Those are the guys that are hacking computers at 14 and 15 years old. It could be girls too. Believe me, these days is everything. Because girl power is real. So perception changes throughout life, right? But it's different for everybody. It's an individual thing. But along the way, if you're like a normal person, let's say, and you don't want to be all that, you don't want to be putting your nose in everything, your perception is fairly limited. Maybe to the point where you're even 40 years old. And at 40 years old, you still don't really care about the chaos that's going on everywhere. And you can care less. Because you're just living. So your perception is very limited. And that's what happens here in the United States. Because we as a nation are the most blessed nation in the world, where we are, what I say, blanket. They put a blanket on us to make us cozy and to not actually see the reality of the world. So our perception as Americans is very limited. People say sometimes to a 5th year reading education, to a 5th grade reading education. And sometimes people stay at the 5th grade reading education. If you're lucky, you'll get to like the 8th grade reading education. Because we are very limited. We are blanketed. We are cozy. They put a blind on our eyes and they just show us what they want to show us. And what they show us is not reality. And even with these days of social media, if you don't dig into it, you're not going to see it. So your perception as an American citizen is very limited unless you dig into it. Now, I'll give you an example. They got the GPS going for a long time now. What is it? Like maybe over 30 years, maybe over 40 years, something like that. But as you know, the GPS is not flawless. It can make you drive around a neighborhood and let you miss the main road for hours before they get you on the main road and you get to where you have to go. And I said, why the GPS is taking me through this neighborhood? I don't need to know. I'm not visiting nobody here. But that's mainly what it does. It just takes you wherever it wants to take you. Wherever it's programmed to take you. Based on that community. And I was one of the ones that they always said, oh, he has a sense of direction. He knows where he's going. So I was one of the ones that took the main road no matter what. Still, I'm in a way. Sometimes I want to deviate and see the communities. But my perception is more like, instead of like this. And it expands. So I have like a human GPS on top of my mind where I can see the roads even though I'm not looking at the map. So that's just my perception, because I've taken the task of developing it. But now let's say, most people, their perception is very limited. The only images they've seen of the world is the ones they see on TV. And they actually don't go past, some people don't even go past 100 miles radius of their place of birth. There's nothing wrong with that. But that's a very limited perception. So perception and self-perception is very important when it comes to developing your life. And with this one, I want to say hi to everybody. I want to say hi to all the people around the world that follow my music and follow my videos. I know who you are, and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. It's been close to 90 million of you peeking on my Space Rocker of the Planet Earth channel. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. This is Tony DeSantis, Space Rocker of the Planet Earth, still living in this beautiful planet core today with the subject of perception. Develop it. I'll see you on my next video.